Thank you so much to the organizers for putting on this great event. I had a lot of fun with the recursion talk. And, thank you for coming to build your own ChatGPT with SMS with the OpenAI API. And this talk is very beginner friendly. I am not a machine learning developer, merely a machine learning enthusiast, if you will. And alternatively, I call this screw the browser, because why have ChatGPT in the browser when you can have it over text message? I'm a Twilio developer evangelist, Python and JavaScript developer, and this is my first time in Austin, and I love it. Yes. And I'm not here to pitch you, but I'm here to show you something that I've built with OpenAI. Okay. And that is Guido. Big fan. Big fan. Yeah. Okay, so who here has used ChatGPT before? Okay. Same. So I hope you're excited to learn more about it. What are some prompts you've asked it? Anyone? Okay. Makes sense? Makes sense. Relatable. I've heard that. Read a cover letter. Yeah. Okay. So I hope you get better at writing prompts because there is a new skill, a new job that is coming out of this called prompt engineering, and it's where you want to discover good inputs that will yield desirable, favorable, useful outputs or results. Okay. So what is on the agenda? Introduction to AI, some vocabulary, some concepts, OpenAI, and the OpenAI API. And when I submitted this talk, there was no ChatGPT API, but they've been busy. There's now a ChatGPT API. And it's pretty similar. It's slightly more fine-tuned with different reinforcement learning. But the methods are very similar. The code is very similar. And then we'll go over how to build your own ChatGPT with the OpenAI API, Twilio, and Python. I like to start with this meme. Programmer was like, is this AI to conditionals? And no, it is not. You're in the library, time to go back to school. So AI is an umbrella term with subsets. It's a field of science and engineering that deals with making intelligent machines or computers perform human-like skills, tasks, activities. ML, or machine learning, is a subset of AI that deals with the computer, the system, learning on its own, learning automatically through its own experiences without it being explicitly programmed. Lastly, deep learning, or DL, is a subset of ML and thus of AI that deals with using complex algorithms and neural networks to repetitively train a specific model or pattern. And you can think of computer vision, CV, as AI for visuals, images, graphics, videos, and natural language processing, or NLP, as AI for words. And I do like that tweet. What do we want? Natural language processing. When do we want it? Memory is hard for a computer. What is an ML model? You can think of it as a program that is trained using a previously unseen to the model data set to find patterns and to make decisions. For example, in NLP, ML models can parse and correctly recognize the intent behind previously unheard sentences or combinations of words. In image recognition, a machine learning model can be taught to recognize objects, like a dog or like a car. And you know that this talk is not a pitch because these slides are not very corporate. They do not fit with company brand guidelines. Neural networks. Like our brain that's formed of a network of neurons, neural networks are based on connected nodes, technically known as artificial neurons. Their job, you ask, to identify hidden correlations or patterns in raw data, to classify them, and to continuously improve. You can train a neural network to perform tasks like sentiment analysis, and they're at the heart of deep learning algorithms. A neural network arranges algorithms in such a manner that it can make reliable decisions on its own, whereas an ML model makes decisions based on what it has learned from the data. As a result, While ML models may learn from data, they may need some human interaction in the early stages. One of the more well-known neural networks includes the Google search algorithms. Very useful. Thank you. Weak AI, also known as narrow AI, is a type of artificial intelligence that is limited to a specific or narrow area. Weak AI simulates human cognition. Some examples include chatbots, smart assistants like Siri, Alexa, Cortana, self-driving cars. And I take great pride in knowing that I could beat Deep Blue, so could you, at checkers. So that automates playing chess, but it's limited to chess. Oh, thank you. Okay. Thank you. And you may have heard of artificial general intelligence recently in discussions around Chat-GPT. This differs from weak AI in that it can perform a variety of functions, eventually teaching itself to solve for new problems. In this case, it's like a child. It has to learn through input, experiences, and learning over time. Some of the more common examples of AGI include ones in sci-fi like WALL-E, Star Wars, Star Trek, and it develops a human-like consciousness instead of simulating it. Do you think ChatGPT is AGI? Hearing a mix of yeses and nos. Okay. Well, it is impressive, but it is not there yet. It is still a limited memory AI system, and it's unique from other chatbots in that it can call on previous answers to update its current output, but it's still limited to a single medium, text-based chat, and it is simply trained to generate words based on some given input, but it does not have the ability to truly comprehend what the words mean. So some of the answers, some of the outputs it gives are still lacking in depth and some insight. So it's not there yet. While we're at it, there's artificial superintelligence, which is AI that exceeds human intelligence in all areas. Not there yet. So OpenAI 101. OpenAI is an AI research and deployment company. They differ from other AI companies in that they aim to promote and develop friendly AGI. What does that mean? As we learned earlier, AGI is AI that matches human intellect. Friendly AGI would have a positive impact on humanity, on the human species, which are some pretty lofty goals. And you may know OpenAI as the creators of ChatGPT, which uses the GPT-3, maybe now GPT-4, keep on updating them, language models. Okay, anyone know what GPT stands for? Oh, yes, yes. Generative Pre-training Transformers 3 or 4. It uses a transformer architecture, which is a multi-layer neural network that's good for processing sequential data, such as text. And it can perform language-related tasks like summarization, translation, question answering, as well as text generation. And this is me asking in the browser, write me a song about Python in the style of country music. I'm a country music fan. Yeah. And OpenAI's API. You can think of APIs like code Legos that let you use their models, use their functionality with only a few lines of code. And you can interact with the API through HTTP requests from a variety of programming languages. Their official Python bindings, they have Node.js library, and a few community-supported libraries as well. And there is the GPT-4 API you can get on the waitlist for. GPT-4 differs from GPT-3 in that GPT-4 can analyze and comment on images and graphics. So it can describe the content of an image, generate photo captions, identify trends in a graph, and it's supposed to be more creative, more reliable, and more accurate, handling more nuanced prompts. Smarter, more capable. Okay. Some examples of companies using the API, GitHub Copilot, an AI pair programmer. They use OpenAI's Codex to suggest code and maybe some complete functions straight in your editor. Duolingo uses GPT-3 to correct, improve French grammar. And an internal Duolingo study shows that use of this feature leads to measurably better second language writing skills. There's also the embeddings API that converts, lets you compare text. So it converts words to numbers because machine learning models and algorithms, like computers, consume numbers, while we as humans consume words, maybe. Okay. To get started with the API, you need to get an API key from OpenAI at platform.openai.com, and price plans are based on token usage, which can be kind of confusing. Tokens are roughly what the input is and then what the output is. And people say it's pricey, but my bill has not been more than $25 a month, and I make a lot with the OpenAI API. It's pretty fun to use. This is the completions endpoint, which can be used directly in apps and products with OpenAI's API. You input some text as a prompt, and the model will generate a text completion that attempts to match whatever context or pattern you provided it. Here I gave the prompt, as Descartes said, I think, therefore, and it is likely it did return, I am. And this is a curl request with my OpenAI API key, unique to me, and it sets the max token in the prompt, which is the length of the completion, the output, and then the response also includes the completion tokens, which are used to return the output, and the total tokens, which is the sum of the input and the output tokens. And I find the highlight of ChatGPT to be the creativity aspect. I love seeing what it comes up. So here is a haiku about Python. So we've seen ChatGPT in the browser, through curl requests. What's another platform we could use here? Text message. This is the one Twilio slide. Okay. And here's an example of text message I sent using Python with the chat completions endpoint. Did humans invent or discover mathematics? I was curious. Mathematics was discovered, not invented, but we have developed the field over time. So some of the dependencies we'll be using, pip install, we have OpenAI to make requests to OpenAI's models. Twilio send and receive text messages. Flask, spin up a web app in Python. And environment variables, because I don't trust you with my credentials yet. Maybe ever. So our Python application will need to have access to our OpenAI API key. So in an .env file, we add this line and replace it with your own API key. Sometimes I publish my credentials to the web because I get lazy and I hard code them. Use environment variables. At the top of a Python file, we import our libraries, set our API key, kept private, and create a Flask app. And inside of this /SMS webhook, this code creates a variable inbound message that gets the inbound text message user's text in and prints it out to check what it is. It then calls the OpenAI.completion.create method to use one of their language models to generate text based on that inbound message variable. In order to specify our completion, we pass in some properties. We have model and prompt, which are required, and max tokens and temperature, which are optional. And we then send a text message containing the response returned from OpenAI, and we can run our Flask application. So the properties we use, model, OpenAI language model used to generate an answer for the textual prompt. Here we use text DaVinci 3, the same one used in the background by ChatGPT, and the OpenAI docs list other models they offer, which differ in accuracy, speed, price, based on how they're trained. We have the prompt, the inbound text message. We want to pass into the model the optional property, max tokens, which controls the length of the text returned by the model. Temperature, a number between 0 and 2, where the higher the value, the more random the output, while the lower the value, the more focused the output. And there's an optional frequency penalty parameter property that we do not use that controls repetition, Maybe you want your output to the model to be more repetitive or not repetitive. Lots of customization you can do. And I think that's where I like the OpenAI API. I'm not an ML developer, but they let me still control the output of their models. Right now, the app is running on my local machine, and it needs to be visible to the web. So Twilio knows what to do with an inbound text message, and it can run our application. ngrok is a development tool, not for production. Don't use ngrok in prod. That you can use to expose a server running locally on your machine to the public internet, possibly even behind a firewall. ngrok HTTP 5000 means the app running at port 5000 can be viewed from the web. Again, not from production. And then we take that URL ngrok provides us at port 5000, configure a Twilio phone number with it, /SMS, a route, and all this code, I'll give a link at the end. You can view it. And we have a phone number you can text. And I have some truffles from Yummy Joy, which I got here on the way here. And if you text this number something creative, the most creative one, and you tweet a screenshot, #PyTexas, you can win the truffles. Just something small. So the number 737-232-7398. Again, that is 737-232-7398. And that's me asking who is the best country music artist. I was curious. Again, 737-232-7398. Okay. So what's next? With the OpenAI API, there's also the DALL-E API that can generate images. And I texted in some descriptions of images I wanted and returned Pikachu drinking boba, a panda biking. You can have fun with that. I think image generation is pretty cool. Also support local artists. So ethics is a thing. Oh, going on a tangent. Okay. So we use the DaVinci 3 model, which is a version of the DaVinci model, which is the most capable one offered by OpenAI. It can perform any task that the other models can perform, often with less instruction, but it does take longer because it's more accurate. ADA is the cheapest model because it's also the slowest and probably less accurate. Wait, that's not right. Fastest. Yeah, but there's also Babbage and Curie. All cost less than DaVinci. And you can see more in the OpenAI documentation. What's next? Documentation at OpenAI. I'm honestly not the biggest fan of the docs. I think there's a slight steep learning curve. Some of the vocabulary, I'm like, you don't need to know the vocabulary because they do abstract it away. But that can get in the way of some accessibility, I think. They do offer a nice playground, so you can play around with models, different parameters like temperature, straight in the browser, no need to make HTTP requests or API requests. And I'm a big fan of tutorials. On Medium, there's Towards AI, Towards Data Science, and they also cover like TensorFlow and other machine learning concepts in libraries. You can do more with machine learning. Python is the most popular language in machine learning because it's high level and easy to use. Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. Google Cloud and Microsoft Azure don't let you customize as much, but I think they're the easiest to use. And you can also fine-tune your models with OpenAI, and that means that you add more sample data. You add more examples that can fit into the prompt, so you can customize the model even more. And once a model has been fine-tuned, you won't need to provide as many examples in the prompt anymore. Use model after fine-tuning. So thank you. I'll be on the side afterwards for questions. You can find me online here, and there's a blog post tutorial with more of this code at twill.io/PyTexas. Thank you.